emergencies and extreme storm events in the future. Winter Storm Uri was a statewide catastrophic event layered on top of an already historic global pandemic which continues today. The city of Austin, like the state of Texas, was unprepared for such a complex disaster. We have fared through historic flooding and wildfires, but I cannot recall in recent history any community that has been afflicted by a natural disaster of this scale and duration during an international public health crisis. The entire state of Texas was under a disaster declaration. We faced record low temperatures, 144 hours of freezing temperatures, and record-breaking days of consecutive snow on the ground. The storm left millions of Texans without power as ERCOT mandated Austin Energy and other utility providers cut power to keep the power grid from completely collapsing. Winter Storm Uri pushed all of us beyond our limits. We had employees working on cell phones from their cars because their power was out, sleeping on office floors separated from their families for multiple days, individual employees working 14-hour days, all in service to this community. City and county staff worked tirelessly amid significant obstacles to respond to hundreds of traffic crashes, to distribute food and water, and to mobilize temporary and longer-term shelter for hundreds of residents. We also saw how our community rose up and worked together to help one another. Neighbors checked on neighbors, businesses offered free water or food to others in need, and grassroots organizations sprang into action to help whenever they could. This truly is an amazing community. And with every unprecedented event like this, there are lessons to be learned and opportunities for improvement. And consistent with our commitment to continuous improvement, we reached out to national experts in emergency management to perform an in-depth evaluation of our operations, including preparation, planning, and response to Winter Storm Uri. With that said, I'll turn it over to the city's Homeland Security and Emergency Management Director, Juan Ortiz, to introduce the team who will provide an overview of the operational analysis and walk us through how we, as an organization and as a community, can be better prepared for emergencies in the future. Juan?
Thank you, City Manager Kwong, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Thank you for this opportunity to present to you today. We divided this presentation in three parts. The first part will be consisting from HESM and the consultant that we hired, Haggerty Consultant. We'll provide an overall part of the presentation of the after action report. Then it will be followed by a presentation from Austin Energy, and then a presentation from Austin Water Utility. As we begin, I want to take this moment in time and just thank all of the staff from the city and the county and the community that participated in this after-action review process. Their feedback and their input is valuable, and it's going to be instrumental in making sure that we build a more resilient community as we move forward. I also want to take a point in time and thank my staff that participated and ensure that this effort was conducted and completed. With me here today, I have a couple of representatives here, Matthew Lara, Bill Wilson, and Robin Wiatrick sitting in the back. Not present, I have Eva Longmore, as well as Bryce Benchavengo, who is actually in the process of getting married today or tomorrow. So we wish him the best for him and his wife. But I want to take a moment and just kind of reflect on the fact that I've been doing this, I've been involved in the field of emergency management for over 27 years. I've made recommendations to elected officials to evacuate for a Category 4 hurricane along the coast. I've been involved in over 15 presidential disaster declarations at least. I've been involved in floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, major hailstorms, even supported a Super Bowl response in the middle of a winter storm resulting in rotating power outages. And I will have to say that the events that we experienced in February of 2021 required me to muster all of my experience, all of my knowledge, in order to ensure that I was doing the best job that I could to protect the citizens of Austin and Travis County. With that being said, I want to ask April Garuso, who is the Director of Resiliency with Haggerty, to come up to the microphone and start the presentation for you today. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is April Garuso. I am the Director of Resilience with Haggerty Consulting. In addition to that, I'm the executive with Haggerty on response and recovery operations for COVID-19 and any concurrent events that have been going on since the start of COVID-19. Before I started with Haggerty about 10 years ago, I was with the City of Philadelphia's Office of Emergency Management. In my time with Haggerty, I've worked across the nation on many, many disasters. I've worked numerous times with FEMA on very, very complicated events. And I bring this up because we can learn from what we have learned as a result of winter weather Uri, as well as what's been happening nationwide over and over again, to sort of promote a more resilient future for our community here. So Haggerty was hired to be an impartial participant to conduct this after-action review, or AAR for short. And that said, many of us within Haggerty were a big part of winter weather Uri response because we are from here and we were here during the response. So in order to create that impartiality, we created a team that was separate and distinctive from any of us who worked on the winter weather response. That was led by Alan Friedman, who will be up and presenting next for me. But before I hand it over, like Juan, I just wanted to mention that in the days leading up to winter weather Uri, I was at hand working on vaccination planning with many other community members. And then we had to shift focus and gear into the winter weather, like all of us. It was a very hard and long road, and I worked with numerous city, county, community members, day and night to with great effort, work on initiatives and response to get through the storm, the aftermath, and the resulting boil water notice. I'm proud of the work that me, my team, and all of the partners that I was working with worked on, but there are many lessons to learn. We shouldn't wait in the days and weeks of a disaster to effectively plan. Effectively planning takes time, months, years. That is going to be a measure of effective resilience in the city of Austin. We can take this moment, learn from it, and grow. So with that, I'll pass it along to Alan.
Thank you, April. So, good evening. My name is Alan Friedman, and I was the team lead for the After Action Review. I want to first really reiterate what Juan Ortiz said. This After Action Review would not be possible without the tremendous contribution of the City of Austin and its communities, and those who participated in the review, from elected officials, members of this council, to numerous representatives of departments, first responders, as well as members of the community. And with that, I'm going to start in on the presentation. We hope today that you'll take away from our presentation 3 primary points. First, that you are likely to see more events like Winter Storm Uri in the future. That Winter Storm Uri is very much a precursor of future events. And one of the themes that April will be coming back and talking about in a few moments is how the impacts of the climate crisis are changing the hazards and changing the impacts of storm events and other events on our communities. Second, we hope that you will see this After Action Review as an opportunity to better respond to this new reality. We hope you will see this After Action Review as a framework and as an outline and as a roadmap to be a more resilient community but to fundamentally be better prepared for the new reality that we expect to be coming in coming years. Third, in order to be better prepared, it will take the whole community. It will take difficult choices to build and better utilize existing capabilities. What is an after-action review? An after-action review is an evaluation, as you've heard, but is fundamentally based on the premise that we can look inward and learn from an event, that we can think about what went well, best practices, and grow from those things we did well, identify gaps, and do it better the next time. First, it is a usual and customary structured review of an incident event. It's a common practice in emergency management. Second, we identify in an after-action review what went well, best practices, and areas for improvement. And third, we include recommendations for the purpose of continuous improvement and learning. The goal of an after-action review is very much about learning and growth. So how did we do the after-action review? We looked at 3 areas. First, we examined over 75 documents. They included everything from emergency operation plans, incident action plans, as well as, for example, the City Task Force report on Winter Storm Uri. Second, we talked to over 190 individuals across city and county departments, members of the community groups, and elected officials. And finally, technical issue. Wait for the suspense. I'm having trouble with my clicker.
They might be able to advance it if that's not working.
Is there can you try now? Okay. Perfect. And finally, we conducted a survey that included 191 individuals from the same groups of stakeholders that I just identified, primarily to verify the results and observations from the after-action review. I want to now outline what we found, and for that, I'm going to ask April to come back and walk us through some of the top-line findings.
And Alan, while April goes up to the podium, I want to also reinforce what Alan said. This after-action highlights all the heroic efforts of the entire community, citizens, private sector, and government employees. It also defines our limitations, our current capabilities, but it also provides us a roadmap that will allow us to begin that process that we're starting here today.
Before I hand it over to April, I just want to note that there's 3 core areas or 3 parts of the AR. First is the findings report. The purpose of the findings report is to provide a summary of our overall findings. Second, we provided the technical report, which provides all of the details, the observations that we found, as well as recommendations. And third is our improvement plan. The improvement plan includes 132 recommendations for how the City of Austin and Travis County can become a more resilient community and also respond to events such as Winter Storm Uri in the future. And with that, I'm going to advance and hand it over to you, April. Thank you.
Thanks. So the first concept here that we really wanted to underscore is this is a precursor, sort of a dress rehearsal for what may be to come here in town. Disasters are becoming more frequent and intense because of climate change. There's just no question. Heat, wildfires, hurricanes, flooding, they are all becoming more intense and more frequent nationwide, and all of them have impacted the City of Austin in the last handful of years. So the only expectation we can safely set is that we should be expecting these more complicated, larger, and more frequent disasters in years to come. Not only will they be more intense, they are going to, at times, overlap. As disasters overlap, the risk of cascading failures increases and ultimately leads to loss of property, harm to infrastructure, and to people, especially vulnerable populations. And if unchecked, the cost of disasters is very expensive. So what you see in here in front of you are the $2021 billion weather and climate disasters. This is not including the global pandemic that hit every community in the United States. They are becoming more frequent, they are overlapping, they are overwhelming nationwide. Around the country, I've personally worked with communities seeing the devastation and the recovery through key economic drivers from flood after flood after flood in Nebraska, witnessed fatigue and burnout of emergency responders supporting back-to-back disasters and wildfires in California. I know that these are things that are familiar here in the city of Austin as well. And I'm just bringing up the examples that I've personally worked on. This is happening everywhere across the country over and over and over again. Without intervention, intensity and frequency compounds the costs, not only the financial costs, but also the personnel cost and others that support the impact. Physical, personnel, reconstruction, economic impact, they all compound on each other over time. So zooming from out in to the city of Austin. Austin is unique in many different ways. That's why I'm here. You were mentioning it earlier today. It is a wonderful place to live. It is where I have chosen to live for years and will remain. I love it here. We have a unique culture, people, the food, the music. It's all great. But one thing that I have mentioned over and over again that is not unique to Austin is the complexity and overlapping nature of the disasters. So what you're seeing here is a little bit of a case study for what's to come in terms of all of the activity that the city had to go through, starting in March 2020 with COVID-19, and then morphing into prepping for and then responding to Winter Storm Uri. In the last 20 months, Austin has had to think outside the box, to be nimble and to be responsive to do things that have only been invented in real time. This is something that Juan in emergency management has working on very frequently. Juan, since you've been at ground zero on this, maybe you can sort of walk the team through and just remind everyone all of the various different nuanced and new response operations that you've been working on.
Thank you, April. As you can see from the slide, from March of 2020 to the present day, we've had to undertake major initiatives that the city had not had to do before. Working in partnership with the county and other community partners, we had to conduct and establish and set up massive testing sites at the beginning of the pandemic, as well as create lodging available for those residents at higher risk and isolation facilities for those that were tested positive for COVID and could not isolate. Establish alternate care site facilities to support our regional medical systems, as well as respond to a hurricane and support coastal evacuation in non-congregate shelter settings, which was unique and the first time we've ever done that. And more recently, right before the impacts of Winter Storm Uri hit our community, we had just undertaken a massive vaccination operation that our country has not seen since the polio vaccine in the 1950s. Those are some of the things that we had to do. And then the pandemic happened, and then the Winter Storm Uri impacted us, and we had to divert all our resources to support those winter storm operations. And then in March, as we continued with the recovery for Winter Storm Uri, we needed to support both the Winter Storm Uri response as well as go back to the pandemic response and continue that forward. And not on this chart, prepare for the upcoming hurricane season as well.
Very complex with a lot of needs in terms of planning. Okay, I'm going to hand it back over to Alan, who's really going to walk us through the nuts and bolts of the findings of this report.
Thanks. Okay. So how do we be better prepared? How do we respond? That's the question. And that's really at the heart of what the AAR is about. Okay, number one, build from strength. There was a tremendous amount of strength that was on display during this response. And I'm just going to mention a few of those issues because we always want to build from strength in terms of where we go next. Extraordinary staff commitment. I mean, you heard it at the beginning in your opening remarks, City Manager. I mean, absolutely true. There were more than 1,000 individuals were sheltered. More than 1 million gallons of drinking water were purchased and delivered. Almost 200,000 meals were prepared and also delivered. There were about 2,400, a little over 2,400 staff that were deployed during the emergency. That entailed about 65,000 staff hours, and there was an expenditure of almost $5.5 million in terms of emergency services and debris management. So, in other words, you have a core staff that are dedicated, that are focused on their job, and that under exceptional circumstances delivered for the community. But it wasn't enough. There were significant gaps in the response, no doubt, and let's talk about those. We'll find those gaps really in these 4 core areas. And when I say gaps, really what I'm talking about, these are really the core 4 areas that are really, we think, should be the focus and areas for improvement. First, resources. We need to be thinking about our staff, how we invest in staff, and how we build the workforce of the future in terms of responding to emergencies. Second, as part of those resources, are we adequately supplied? Do we have the right services, basically, that are in place to respond to an event of this complexity in the future? Second, resilient systems. We need to build not just more resilient utilities, but we also have to build resilient shelters that are able to basically sustain and be sustained when there's interruption of power, when there's interruption of water. And we have to make sure that our people who are out there, responders, have the right equipment they need to do their jobs. Planning. There were substantial gaps in planning, no question. And we're going to talk about that in a second. What we call mass care, there's a need to really think about the future of mass care planning in the city of Austin and to make some significant revisions there. The same could be said of food and the availability of food, as well as integrating equity and equality, as well as community engagement. Communication. Once we do point 1, 2, and 3, we've got to be thinking about how we better communicate, both within stakeholders, all of you, for example, as well as understanding what are the roles of the community and what the expectations should be, as well as how do we as a community better prepare at the individual level all the way up to the city council itself. So let's talk about 6 key areas that we want to highlight from the report. First, community engagement. There is absolutely no question that the community played an extraordinary role in this response. It was incredibly clear from all the people we talked to. But there were gaps. There were gaps in implementation, in coordination between government elected officials, as well as the community response operations. So what should we do? And I should say that these are the highlights from the report, and you'll see a lot more detail through both the findings report as well as the technical report. First, we have got to implement best practices for utilizing community-based organizations. Second, we have got to dig into our plans and revise disaster planning with additional considerations for nonprofits, the private sector, and community-based service delivery organizations. And finally, codify the roles and responsibilities between these stakeholders, as well as contingencies when organizations are not available. What does this mean in practice? It means define the role of the community, find a way to adequately integrate them into the response, and make sure that the roles are completely clear. Second, equity. The storm had a disproportionate impact on vulnerable populations. There is no question that city and county staff worked tirelessly to address those needs, but gaps persisted in planning, operations, particularly for the unhoused, the elderly, the lower income residents, and others who were vulnerable. What should we do in response? First, we need to implement a policy on the equitable availability and distribution of goods and services. Second, we need to include provisions in planning that address the needs of the vulnerable. And finally, we need to codify the role of the Equity Office in planning and EOC operations. Emergency staffing. Emergency response fundamentally relies on the quality of the staff and their engagement. And as we saw from this response, we have an extraordinary and dedicated workforce. But there were challenges. First, staff and volunteer shortages hindered operations. City and county departments do not have adequate staffing models, but more importantly, staffing models for the multiple response operations that we saw and were demanded by Winter Storm Uri in the COVID response. And an example of that is support agencies or volunteer support agencies had trouble providing volunteers due to COVID-19. What should we do? First, commission an analysis to evaluate appropriate staffing levels. And aside, the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management has a total not more than 15 staff. I believe the number is 13. This is an extraordinary number, 13 staff to manage a future of complex emergencies. That is a small number. We need to step back and think about how we build the workforce and make sure that there's the availability of staff to respond effectively. Second, continue to resource alternative staffing schemes. There are some very creative and important staffing schemes that are currently underway. For example, the reserve workforce as well as the engagement with the private sector. Keep that going, keep it sustained. Third, require mandatory training of identified city and county staff in disaster response operations. In other words, think about how we use our existing workforce more effectively. Think about how we train them more effectively. And think about whether we have the right number of staff and that are adequate to respond and meet the community's needs. Infrastructure. No question. The storm caused outages in water, in power, communication, transportation, and other infrastructure. These outages had additional, or what we call cascading impacts on the community, emergency, and medical services. These were not envisioned or accounted for in planning. And what do we mean by that? What we mean is much of the planning was based on a single hazard. It wasn't much of the planning that went in before this event did not appreciate the complexity of the impacts of this kind of event. So what should we do? We need to revise our planning assumptions for multiple hazard events. And when I refer to multiple hazard events, that sounds very jargony, but it's exactly what April has sort of walked you through. We need to be thinking about our planning in the context of this new reality. Second, we need to investigate adding resilient infrastructure for resilient facilities. And third, we need to identify shelters with durable infrastructure. Durable infrastructure meaning backup generation power, water, shelters that can safely accommodate those who need accommodation when the power goes off or when the water goes down, as we saw here. Mass care. The lack of a comprehensive planning approach hindered coordination, service delivery, and implementation of sheltering, feeding, water distribution, and other components of mass care. So when I say mass care, that sounds, what does that mean? It is encompassing of sheltering, feeding, water distribution. That is what is incorporated in mass care. What we need to do, first, we need to establish a comprehensive and scalable mass care plan that builds on current planning. We have a foundation, a good foundation of mass care planning in the city of Austin, Travis County, but we need to build on that and create a more comprehensive approach. Second, we need to take a similar approach for similar reasons when it comes to disaster feeding and build on current plans. And finally, make sure that we include provisions on sheltering operations within the mass care operational plan. Last area, before I turn it back to April, preparedness. Many in our community were unprepared for the storm. We think this is understandable. Understandable because the effects of Winter Storm Uri were fundamentally almost unimaginable. How could people be prepared? And I think we have to be humble about that. But in the same thought, we also need to recognize that personal preparedness is extremely important to better plan for and respond to events with system-wide impacts. And let me explain that in really simple terms. If an individual does not need help because they have figured out and planned for the event, it means that the emergency responder can decide who he or she wants to help in that situation. In other words, the more resilient we are as a community, the less pressure it puts on emergency service and responder personnel. So what should we do? First, emphasize strategies for personal preparedness, resilience, and fostering social connections. All of you know that there was an extraordinary strength that we saw during the storm, which is that neighbors helping neighbors. There is a positive, absolute asset that is in the community in terms of the resilience of this community and there's an opportunity here to build on that. Second, implement best practice programs for personal preparedness and supporting staff. This is an important point. Time was that when a disaster struck, it would be limited. It wouldn't affect the whole community. We're now in an age in which the disasters that we have to endure affect all of us, including those who respond to emergencies. So we need to take care and make sure that staff and those who are responding are just as prepared as other elements of the community. Finally, identify programs, resources, and approaches to improve or encourage whole community resilience and risk reduction, including businesses, nonprofits, community groups. What does this mean? It means that we have to think holistically about our community and how we work with every sector of our community to become more resilient and innovate our way through that. I'm going to turn back to April for some concluding remarks as well as one. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so pivoting away from the specifics of the review, back to the big picture of what comes next. And I think what this fundamentally comes down to is the key of resilience. And to just get us on the same baseline here, I want to get us working from the same definition. Resilience is a measure of how well people and societies can adapt to a changed reality and capitalize on the new possibilities offered. So what is resilience practically speaking? Community better served, and costs in terms of well-being and costs in terms of dollars are reduced. A great example of this comes from a study that came out of the National Institute of Building Sciences. And they say that for every dollar spent in mitigating infrastructure, you save $5 to $8 in a flooding event, very specifically flooding. So in this example and with others, the key is to spend money on infrastructure ahead of time to reduce the impact, to invest in staffing to a level where they can plan ahead and act effectively. The moment of a disaster is too late to become resilient. This can be an inflection point for the city of Austin, a moment of collective agreement that as we continue to experience these disasters over and over, back to back, you can enact and influence policy and encourage policy, both at the city, at the community, at the private sector levels to mitigate these impacts. Now I'm going to pass it over to Juan to talk through some of the actions that the city's already taken and his vision for what comes next.
Thank you, April. You know, it is important to kind of look at this event and realize that the difference between this series of days in February and other days when we had disasters, some of the other disasters that we had, there was somewhat of a geographical limitation to it, flooding around rivers, right? The difference in this disaster was across the entire city and across the entire region, across the entire state of Texas. So the recommendations that we're finding out is that we're doing some of these things, but now we need to take it to the next level. We need to expand the level of training, the level of planning, the level of preparedness, the level of capabilities to a much higher level, because the information that we're seeing is that these events are going to become more frequent. So what actions have we taken? And I'm here to tell you that a lot of the city and county departments, a lot of the community agencies, they have not waited for this report to come on. There's a lot of work that has been going on. And after me, you'll have presentations from Austin Energy and Austin Water, and they're going to talk about some of those actions that they have taken, and they've done a lot of great work. But here on this slide, I've just kind of highlighted a couple of the things. For example, we've partnered with Austin Water on a shared position that will be able to work closely in emergency management between Austin Water Utilities and Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We have expanded the use of what we've termed disaster reservists as a way of expanding our workforce. What does that mean? That is where we're asking retired city employees or other temporary employees to come in and help us and be available to support the ongoing disasters that we have during the pandemic, and be available to support us in case we have other disasters in the future. That is one of the ways that we can expand our workforce to support, especially in long-term disasters, when we have to allow the workforce to return in order to allow the city and county to restore those services that they are originally hired to do. We're also looking at other methods of expanding those contracts to ensure that we have private sector involved in the disaster response, so that we can be able to meet the need in future disasters and have it in a way that we can manage those costs as we move forward. In the area of resilient systems, if you recall, during the budget process, council approved funding for a resilience hub program. I'm here to report that effort is already underway. There's been the work has already started, and my understanding is that you will be receiving a presentation in the near future of the status of that effort. And that is an example of how we're moving forward in building specifically resiliency hubs that will eventually help us to meet some of the findings that we found here with this after review process. There is a whole series of investments in transportation and utility equipment that is designed to strengthen and harden our capabilities for not only winter weather, but other disasters. In the area of planning, we have already updated a lot of our emergency plans and procedures. A whole new series of effort was rolled out over the summer. Some of this effort actually was initiated at due to the start of the pandemic, but feeds perfectly into the needs that we identified during the Winter Storm Uri. I specifically want to highlight is the position of the equity officer that we identified as a need, and we brought in to the EOC as part of the pandemic, but now we're beginning that process of codifying it, institutionalizing into our procedures and operations. And we are going to be meeting with the equity office and expanding those efforts and looking at all of our plans to ensure that we're looking at disaster response with an equity lens as we move forward. We've implemented new virtual EOC representative training and also scheduling shelter management training.
In the areas of communications, again, we have revised and improved community outreach plan. If you recall, during the budget process, council approved funding for a community engagement program, and that effort is underway as well, and should be seeing updates on that in the near future as well. I'm also happy to report that earlier this year, on October 1st, we were able to roll out a new alerting system that allows us to disseminate emergency information to those who are deaf, blind, and hard of hearing through the Austin-Travis County Accessible Hazard Alerting System. That is just one of the other ways that what we're trying to do is to enhance our emergency communications or our communications gaps that were identified during the after-action review process. And there's many more. But the next steps, I think what you are very interested in knowing is that after this presentation, after today, right, we're going to be formally bringing in all of our partners and formulating our teams to look at the improvement plans that are necessary to address and all of these 132 recommendations. That will be a formal process, and we'll be providing you updates as we move forward with the implementations of the status of those recommendations as we move forward. Later this month, we're already scheduled our winter weather seminar that will be taking place on November the 17th. This is our opportunity of us bringing together city and county and community partners to ensure that we all know what our requirements, our roles and responsibilities are for winter weather preparedness, and that effort will be taking place on that day. It will be followed by a tabletop exercise that we're going to be conducting in the first part of December. And I'm also happy to say that those are just the things that my department is leading. But in conversations with other city departments, there are lots of other efforts the departments are taking to conduct their own internal reviews, their own internal preparedness efforts, their own internal tabletop exercises, and that we're doing what we need to do to ensure that we are moving forward and are prepared for the upcoming winter weather season for this year, and as well as other emergencies in the future. Last, I want to remind everybody in the importance of preparing. You've heard it several times already during this presentation, but it is important that it gets said again. The time to prepare is now. You can go to the store and you can find plenty of water, toilet paper, other items that don't require electricity or gas. Make sure you have a hand-operated can opener, non-perishable food items, glow sticks, other items that you need to prepare. It is important that we have this conversation of preparedness. And you don't have to buy it all on the next trip. You can buy it a little bit at a time. Like every time I go to the store, I buy a little extra to ensure that my family emergency supply kit is going to be there for when it's needed. Because I know that when the next emergency happens, my job is to come to the emergency operations center, and I don't have the time to go take care of my family. I'm going to take care of my family ahead of time. That is my responsibility, and that's what I should do. I want to remind everybody to make a plan. I want to remind everybody to build your kit. Go outside and meet your neighbors. A lot of the great work that happened during the winter storm was because people knew each other. Go and knock at the door of your neighbor. Get to know each other. And lastly, stay informed. We have several different ways how you can stay informed, including signing up to receive emergency alerts through One Central Texas, as well as downloading the Ready Central Texas app. That is an app that is a partnership between Austin and Travis County that has a lot of great information and can also that can be useful in preparing as well as the new winter weather pamphlet that we have rolled out through that application. And look at that accessible hazard alerting system that we rolled out, and make sure you pass the word. If you know of someone that can benefit of these services, let them know and encourage them to sign up so that they can stay informed. And go ahead, buy that extra item. Your preparedness will make sure that we will have more capability to respond to those areas where they may not have those capabilities, and it's important that we do that. Last, I want to say, while there are hundreds of other recommendations that I can be talking about to you today, the bottom line is this. We know the world has changed, and climate change is real. At this moment, we have the opportunity to embark on a journey to build a national model, no, a global model of what a city can do to address climate change and be more disaster prepared and resilient in the future. I am committed, we are committed, and eager to make Austin the best prepared community in the world. With that, I'd like to ask Sydney Jackson from Austin Energy for their portion of the presentation. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, Council.
Before we start, sounds like it's me, but I don't.
Sounds like we're on a ship over there.
Presentation, may I just get,
I'm so sorry, my ears are just really, really sensitive. I can't, that sound is painful.
Thank you, Councilmember. Certainly, this is an important topic, and we want to devote as much time as we need to make sure all your questions are answered. And so we stand ready to answer questions at any point in time in the future, whether for the consultants who will be available, maybe not in person, but certainly have them available at another date, or just as we're getting questions from you and your colleagues. For tonight, I would still like to get through both of the presentations that remain, use any time remaining that you may want to have those high-level questions for the consultants, but we will be here as long as you want, but knowing that this is only the beginning of the conversation. I want to reemphasize that I know you presented this report just today. You're still looking into it, but we are committed to having all your questions answered, and we will make sure that we are available to answer them, whether it's here tonight or at any time in the future.
Yeah, and clearly tonight we're not going to be able to ask or.
Yeah, and we didn't expect that.
So when is our next opportunity to talk with the consultants and really have that in-depth conversation about the report itself?
We will work with you and your office to make sure that you have that availability and
I want to be clear that it's something our whole lives.
okay. we can certainly work on scheduling that.
And part of it is that, you know, as I said earlier this morning,
You know, this was
Councilmember Topo, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think she's just trying to establish some degree of expectation for how the remainder of the evening will go, what it looks like moving forward. Thank you for jumping in. City Manager, my answer to you, Councilmember Tovo, was going to be, I don't know what to expect. I know as much as you know, and so I'm glad that the City Manager jumped in. But I will say this, it is not my intention, besides the presentations for this evening, it was not my expectation, rather, for us to be able to answer questions or ask questions tonight. The way I understood it was that we would get the presentation, it would help to inform our questions for the future, is the way that I understood it. And so my intention was at 10 o'clock to take the vote for us to go beyond 10, but exclusively for the purposes of allowing for the presentations to be completed. And with that, I'll let the City Manager sort of answer the question about future expectations for being able to ask those questions.
And I think we just stand ready to work with council on establishing when that next opportunity is going to be.
Yeah, and I was saying, you know, I think this was an extraordinarily significant event in our community. As I said this morning, I think it is really incumbent on all of us to have that space within in a special called meeting or some other setting where we're all present and the public can participate in that and hear that. So I did ask this morning if you could kind of do some thinking about when that next date might be, and I would just reiterate my request that we have some really extensive time set aside with our consultants and with our staff too, but especially our consultants. I just have some immediate questions, and I know my colleagues will as well, about some of the observations and the recommendations and some of the past work and how it compares to, say, the Hurricane Harvey after action report and some more in-depth work. But thank you for the presentation, and I'll conclude now. But I think we have to send a strong message to our community that we are deliberately not asking questions tonight, because otherwise they will wonder why we have remained silent.
Appreciate it. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. I am Sidney Jackson, the Deputy General Manager and Chief Operations Officer for Austin Energy, and it's my pleasure to have an opportunity to present a brief overview of the Austin Energy After Action Report. With me today are Robin Otto from the Austin Energy Government Affairs Office, Tammy Cooper, Senior Vice President, Chief Communications and Compliance Officer, and Jackie Sargent, Austin Energy's General Manager. Austin Energy After Action Report represents a formal and comprehensive reflection of a wide range of required actions and deliverables during the period of the winter storm. As we are all aware, and as our City Manager, Spencer Cronk, mentioned, the February polar vortex brought devastating weather, catastrophic impacts to the ERCOT Texas electrical region, and impacted communities and electrical systems even beyond the ERCOT or Texas borders. The Austin Energy Report was developed over the last several months as Austin Energy staff collectively met, discussed, and captured and evaluated outcomes and outcomes central to the February winter storm. And these include collaborations with third-party experts such as EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute, a leading electric industry consultant and knowledge base. Recall that in the weeks immediately following the February winter storm, the bulk electric system, and after the bulk electric system returned to traditional normalcy, Austin Energy spoke in forums as to its actions and outcomes. Similarly, this docket captures those previous discussions and expanded into other essential areas. Prior to delving into the details of the Austin Energy After Action Report, specifically the report's framework, structure, and contents, a review of the winter storm timelines is warranted, as it will help communicate the complexity and dynamic nature of the winter storm response. It is by default an essential prerequisite discussion, and it helps to interconnect the many interdependent and moving parts relative to the storm and relative to Austin Energy's resultant actions, or even ERCOT's actions and directives and mandates to Austin Energy. So I have a graphic here, and the timeline of the graphic can be divided up into 4 main sections. The blue section is February 11th through 13th, and it is the initial storm and the initial storm response. The black section in two parts is February 14th, and then also February 19th and 20th and following dates, as it represents subsequent waves of winter storms and restorations. And the red or magenta section, February 15th through 18th, represents where ERCOT mandated load sheds occurred, and this is by far the most significant time frame. Looking at the time frame overall, it clearly reflects the differing and repeated waves of adverse weather, to include the polar vortex, below freezing temperatures over a prolonged period of time. The waves of weather brought differing challenges, obviously: ice, snow, wind, crystalline precipitation, all impacting the high voltage system, the high voltage grid, and the electrical distribution system. So let's focus on the blue section for just a minute. On the blue section, February 11th through 13th, this time frame essentially represents traditional storm response, as better said, a severe storm response. The polar vortex hit February 11th and resulted in approximately 35,000 customers without power. Restoration of these 35 customers was essentially completed for virtually all customers by late in the day, February 13th. And this restoration was the diligent work of dedicated line workers, vegetation management, field crews, and a wide array of support staff and technical teams working continuously and safely around the clock despite extremely adverse conditions. The blue line in the graph, or the blue line that's superimposed on the graph, is an important metric, as it shows the total number of customers are affected or outaged at any given point in time. And essentially 70 hours after the storm began on February 13th, after it began on February 11th, 70 hours later by February 13th, virtually all customers were restored. Recall that I previously mentioned the dynamic nature of this winter storm, and despite having virtually all customers restored late in the day, February 13th, February 14th, the next day, brought new waves of storms, new ice, new high winds, resulting in incremental outages. As the blue line clearly annotates, the number of new outages during this time frame fluctuated, depending upon the moment in time, depending on the dynamic intensity of the storm, and depending on where we were in the restoration phase. Clearly, Austin Energy field teams worked around the clock during this February 14th to restore customers as this new wave of storms hit. So let's pause for just a moment. Up to this point in time, the February winter storms had a look and feel of a traditional severe storm, followed by what you would expect accompanying outage restorations. Without the ERCOT mandated load shed events that followed, and those load shed events followed the next day on February 15th, the winter storm would have looked completely different. It would have looked different in terms of magnitude. It would have looked completely different in terms of collective impact, and that it would be the impact upon Austin Energy households and Austin Energy's communities. So briefly, let's look at the load shed period. Again, that is the red or magenta timeframe, February 15th through February 18th, as this was the most severe and devastating portion of the timeframe or the winter storm. Adverse weather conditions persistent, but most importantly, ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, issued emergency directives requiring Austin Energy and other utilities to shed load or de-energize customers. For those of you that are not familiar with ERCOT, ERCOT is the overall electric high voltage grid reliability agent, and it has operational authority as given to it by the Public Utility Commission of Texas. During this time frame, ERCOT directed Austin Energy to shed or de-energize approximately 200,000 of its customers in efforts to preserve the high voltage electric grid and bring statewide electrical generation in line or commensurate with statewide electrical demand. As this timeline shows, specifically the blue line graph, the number of curtailed customers jumped orders of magnitude as we moved into the morning of February 15th. We went from nominally having all our customers online, to over 200,000 outages. Just for emphasis, once the ERCOT load shed directive was issued, Austin Energy had a compliance obligation. We had to comply with the ERCOT mandates. And also let us be clear that these were statewide mandates. Other electric utility systems were impacted similar to Austin Energy, and this resulted in statewide curtailments of power across the whole region. Austin Energy, like many other utilities, has processes in place to execute rotating outages, and we stood ready to execute as we have done and demonstrated in the past. However, the depth and sheer volume of these ERCOT load shed directives was so large that outage rotation was not possible. Looking towards the final dates of the timeline, ERCOT began allowing measured load restorations as we approached February 17th, and eventually lifting its emergency action levels as we approached February 19th, which allowed Austin Energies and others statewide to begin full restorations. In summary, the complexity and extreme severity and dynamic nature of the February winter storms and associated mandated load shed was daunting and complex and devastating, obviously. Our Austin Energy After Action Report captures the wide breadth of these considerations. The After Action Report, as I mentioned, is a comprehensive in terms of its overall scope as it addresses a wide range of these key topics. The report is arranged by observation, and what I have in front of you is the table of contents, and it lists some of the major operations. By the way, our After Action Report was modeled after a framework used by FEMA in much of its reporting. As you can see on this graphic, some of the key observations in the table of contents include community communications, medically vulnerable registry, I'm just going to name a few, ERCOT-directed load shed, restoration process. These are some of the key categories, operational safety. If you look into the report more granularly, community communications is listed here. The report has a framework of providing a description of the observation. In this case, a summary of the information Austin Energy provided to the community through various media, either before, during, and following the February winter storm. Also for each observation is background information as well as follow-up actions. And also on this particular page, medically vulnerable registry is listed, and you can see that. An incident command team is mentioned here as well, and as well as the vegetation management process. Again, a reporting format very similar to FEMA. Looking at some of the key takeaways of the report, in terms of areas that worked well, we saw stability in our core energy systems as these technologies are critical and highly relied upon by our control systems. Additionally, we were able to sustain critical loads for the duration of the February storms, critical loads such as medical facilities, trauma centers, government agencies such as police, fire, and emergency responders. We're also able to protect retail customers from extreme price volatility of the ERCOT energy market during this time frame, as we were able to protect electric rates, leveraging our energy market risk management policies and practices. In addition, our electric generation portfolio or power plants were a strong contributor as these facilities not only assisted ERCOT supply for the electrical grid, but they also were helpful and aided in our energy market risk management. We were also able to supply black start capability if it were needed. Black start capability meaning in the case of a complete grid collapse, our generation facilities would be there to self-start and re-energize the electric grid. And from an occupational safety standpoint, we did not incur any significant injuries or personal injuries or OSHA recordables during this time frame. Other observations are related to our incident command structure, support of the remote workforce, being able to sustain communication, situational awareness with key staff, including real-time communications to changing conditions and organizational actions and reactions. And lastly, the transmission lines and substations were able to structurally withstand the significant snow and ice loading while also performing and executing in adverse weather. Looking at observations relative for areas needed for follow-up, Austin Energy personnel will participate in ongoing future ERCOT energy market design and public policy decisions. We will participate along with our industry peers. We are implementing enhancement to our community communications, text alerts, and outage map and such. Vegetation management is an area where we strive for continuous improvement. We've communicated in the past increases in investment thresholds and proactive outreach with stakeholders. We are expanding the sectionalization of our electrical distribution circuits through the use of smart grid technologies that are used currently in our system, but we are going to expand the utilization or broaden that utilization. We're making efforts to coordinate with our large industrial customers for reducing consumptions during grid emergencies, as well as working with our customers for the downtown electric grid and network as well. And lastly, we're working to increase our coordination with city departments as that outreach resiliency as well. And lastly, I mentioned the scope of the Austin Energy After Action Report. We have 19 general observations or categories. In addition to these 19 observations, the breadth of the report contains 112 specific and granular follow-up actions. The internal effort by Austin Energy personnel to capture, track, and document these 112 specific follow-up actions is a key deliverable of our comprehensive report. Many of the follow-up actions are complete, as we did not wait for the conclusion of the after-action report to begin our actions. Looking at those follow-up actions, 29% have been completed, 50% are in progress towards a expected future date, and 21% are part of normal operations. With this review of our this review of our after action report is brief. We look forward to further discussions in key governance and stakeholders meetings, such as perhaps the EUC or the AEUC as might be requested. And that concludes the Austin Energy After Action Report and Review. We will now transition to Austin Water with Mr. Greg Mazaris.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. And part 3 of our presentation today
think
is
we
from
need a
Austin Water.
motion.
Say it again?
I think we need a motion, which I'm not making.
Oh, okay.
Director Mazares, would you offer me a moment for my colleagues and I to take a vote to go beyond 10 p.m.? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us. So yeah, we have to vote to stay here past 10. Again, just to reiterate, my intention is to complete the briefing, and then we all go home and get some rest. So do you have a motion? Thank you. Councilmember Ellis makes the motion for us to go past 10. Councilmember Fuentes seconds the motion. All in favor? Looks like we are unanimous on the dais to go past 10 with Councilmember.
No, I voted no, but
I'm
Councilmember
sorry, I didn't
Cassar
see
is
you.
on the screen.
I voted no too.
He can be the sixth one.
5.
Councilmember Cassar is on the screen, so he can,
Oh, I
assuming he
can't see
votes
him.
for it.
So obviously,
He
we need
was.
6 votes, so we have 5 votes to go
Is
beyond 10
Councilmember
p.m.
Cassar there? Otherwise, I will vote for it.
Councilmember Casada, I can't see you. We're looking at a presentation, so if you're there,
This
if
is
you
just
could
setting
turn your
time.
mic
Somebody
on
please
and
vote
vote
6.
yea or nay to go beyond 10, please.
I'm here, I voted yes.
He
Thank
voted
you.
yes, so I'm voting no.
So 1, 2, 3, I'm a yes. Councilmember Casada is a yes. Councilmember Kitchen is a yes. And then Councilmembers Alter and Kelly are a no. Councilmember Renteria is off the dais, and so is Mayor Adler. And with that, we're,
I think it's best for them to.
And
vote.
Poole,
And-
Councilmember Poole, I think, was going to
I
be
don't know
watching
that-
it.
did
but I
she
don't know
log
if
back
she's
in?
on.
I think for me to vote, they probably have to see me so they could take the presentation down for a second.
he said in order for him to vote, we need to take the presentation off of the screen so we can see his face so he can legally cast a vote. We see you.
Okay.
Thank you. And so that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor, 2 against, Council members Poole and Renteria, and Mayor Adler off the dais. We're going to go beyond 10 p.m. to complete the briefings. Thanks, everybody, for the briefings, by the way, and Director Mazeros. Thanks, everybody in the room in general, for your patience and for a long, long day right alongside us. We appreciate you.
Councilmember Rhea is on there, Renteria is on there, he voted yes too. So you can.
Thank you. Councilmember Renteria, is that a yes vote to go beyond 10? Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening. I'm Greg Mazeris, Director of Austin Water. I just have a few slides. It's not much longer. So here to present our after-action review at a high level. We really looked at 4 primary areas through our after-action review: our incident response and situational awareness, our communications, our infrastructure systems, and also want to talk about our review and next steps with power reliability for water facilities. We used a whole portfolio of resources. Certainly, Austin Water staff were involved over the last 9 months across all these areas. We worked very closely with our Water and Wastewater Commission. They formed a winter storm working group. I'll speak a little bit more on that. We engaged several consultants, Water PIO, a communications consulting firm. The national engineering firm of Friesen Nichols provided a review of infrastructure systems. And of course, we coordinated closely with other city departments, HESM and Haggerty's review. I want to just note for the council the commission's work. They did really an excellent job providing objective review. They met monthly and spent many, many hours with us reviewing comprehensively the impacts of the storm, recommendations, priorities. They're going to continue in an advisory role. Councilmember Kitchen, I want to particularly note your nominee, Commissioner Castleberry, who chaired this group, and she worked tirelessly to keep this. This was a tough assignment, and she did really excellent work, and so just wanted you to know that. So some of the high-level recommendations, starting first with incident response and situational awareness. Much as you heard from Austin Energy and Juan, there's a need for enhanced training on managing emergencies, on the incident command system, developing more depth and broadness of the training. These events are long-duration events. Austin Water was involved in incident command for over 2 weeks. It wasn't just the public system, it was the private recovery, and so that really wears out our teams, and so strengthening our training and depth there. Clarifying our public information roles in incident command. When you have a large-scale outage, it's very information intensive. The public wants to know what's going on. We're very good at the technical side. Up until Winter Storm Uri, we never had a widespread outage, and so these heavy demands that people wanted to know, where's my water, when's it going to be on, show us a map. We were really lifting a lot of that off of the ground internally during the event, and we want to get ahead of all that and strengthen our information, communication systems, and roles in our ICS. And then just overall better improved situational awareness, how we're using our technologies, enhancing those to get better operational insights, our advanced metering infrastructure data, and the promise that that holds to get individual moment-by-moment water meetings at all of our customer bases, improved outage maps, as I mentioned. So that's some of the key recommendations on incident response and awareness. On communication side, we need to adjust and enhance our winter weather preparedness and really do a better job communicating to the public how they can get ready for long-duration cold weather events. And I'll speak a little bit more about steps that we've taken there, but our work there is very important. We need to enhance our understanding and use of how public notification systems are best targeted. There's a growing universe of large public notification systems. Some you're familiar with, the Warren Central Texas or Reverse 911. Our own internal portal that we're developing, as we've described before, our MyATX water portal is a new device. It was really in a prototypical mode during the winter storm. We did employ it to send over 400,000 texts, and we want to continue that and just enhance our ability and procedures for that. We also don't want to forget about multifamily properties. That is an area where they're master metered and they're not always going to have a direct connection through our portal to individual tenants. And so we want to be thinking specifically about how we're engaging with multifamily through more tailored and targeted multifamily communications. On the infrastructure side, we had a lot of recommendations, and we did extensive review there. And some of this you were exposed to during some of our early after-action discussions, but continuing our water main replacement programs, we have some underperforming water mains, particularly a narrow set of small diameter cast iron mains. We're seeing good results for where we target those mains for replacement, and we want to continue those programs really indefinitely and to enhance them so we continue to meet our goals to replace that underperforming asset. Repairing all of the damage to our plants, developing better tools for improved heat tracing, installation, thermal blankets, a lot of activities underway there. I'll go into that a little bit more, but that was a recommendation. All of our treatment plants require trucks to operate properly. We truck in chemicals, we truck out sludge that we remove through treatment, and that was an area of concern during the event. We were successful there. We had stocked up on chemicals and managed sludge storage, but we certainly want to enhance those areas so we can better have increased storage of both chemicals and sludge for long duration events. This next item is very important. It's an operational change. We're a surface water utility, and we're particularly using lime treatment to soften water and treat. That produces large maintenance and repair demands. Historically, surface water utilities like Austin Water do that all in the winter. And as this event showed, our greatest ever peak demand occurred during Winter Storm Uri. Historically, that's always in the summer. Under these new climate models here, we're just going to have to deal with all around capacity threats and have more capacity available throughout the year. So we're really going to have to be rethinking the way we approach maintenance and capital improvement projects and repair schedules to keep more capacity year-round. We've started those steps. It's going to mean probably more contracted maintenance, different approaches, the ability to bring assets into service faster once they're disassembled, so an area of very significant focus for us. And just across the board, we need to continue significant investments in pumping, transmission, and storage. It's not enough just to have the water at your plant. You've got to move it around your whole system efficiently and store it. And that's transmission infrastructure and storage capacity. And we're taking steps to accelerate capital investments and develop new recommendations across our capital program to get at those areas. And this is detailed more in our detailed reports that will be available as a part of the material. I want to note power reliability is an area that we're still putting a lot of effort on. We've done increased purchase of portable emergency generators. We typically maintain a fleet of over 20 of those, but we're taking steps to modernize that and add to it. We're prioritizing and accelerating investments in modernizing our electrical systems at our plants. We have several large projects under construction now, and we'll have others coming in the future. I do want to note for the council, there is a new state law that was passed in this last legislative session, Senate Bill 3, that specifically requires all Texas water utilities to develop an emergency preparedness plan and submit that to TCEQ in the spring of 2022, with implementation starting later in the year. It is exclusively focused on water system power reliability, how water systems demonstrate that they have power reliability. There are emerging guidelines for this. TCQ's just issued some guidance. There's more expected from them. We've started the process to develop our emergency preparedness power reliability plan. We're working closely with other energy providers, certainly Austin Energy. We actually receive power from 4 different power providers. Austin Energy is our primary provider, but Perdonalis, Blue Bonnet, and Encore are also providers to us, and will be a part of that planning. We've already met one deliverable. We've submitted our critical load facility designation to all power providers. That was a requirement of the new law and will probably be an annual requirement. That was submitted to not only the power providers, but the state's Public Utility Commission. But we have more work to do in this arena. I think that it's quite likely we're going to need to invest in large-scale generators at our critical water systems. Maybe not everyone, but certainly the core chain of the system, that it's going to need more larger-scale emergency generation systems. These aren't portable generators. These are going to be large generators that can generate substantial power. And there's different ways to accomplish that goal, and we're going to be working through that, but I do want to alert the council that there's more activity to be done in this arena. I'd like to just end with a sense of the urgency which our team is moving forward. I think you've got the flavor of that from the other presenters today, and I just leave you that with Austin Water, that this isn't a linear process where we just did after action and weren't implementing, that we've been simultaneously doing that all across Austin Water. I want to start with emergency water. So when there is an emergency, we've got to help the community, and we need to do a better job there. I want to give you the sense of the steps that we've taken. Immediately after the storm, we ordered 2 potable water trucks. Those are either in or soon to be in. The picture there is one of them that's at fleet now, being ready, and will be ready for this winter. We've increased our own Austin Water warehouse store of emergency water. We typically would store about 6 pallets of water. We've now tenfolded that. We have 60 pallets of water in storage in our warehouse now. With opportunities to expand that, we're looking at additional shelving and expansion of our ability to store water at our warehouse. And then from there, we can ultimately distribute it to the resiliency hubs and have a whole different paradigm for how we're managing emergency water. We preserved all of the investments we made during the storm to buy bulk water storage totes. You might recall we adapted fire hydrants all across our system to provide potable drinking water at a low pressure for people during the event if they lost water at their apartment complex from private damage. So we kept all of those adapters. We'll be enhancing those inventories. Juan mentioned this in his presentation, but we are targeting a shared resource for emergency plans officer that will be focused on emergency water distribution and food plans. So we have that all thought out before an event is ready, and we can press go and know how we're going to get emergency water and food to the community. So lots of activity and successes here. On the preparedness materials, this is on our website. We have totally redone all of our water emergency preparedness materials in multiple languages. We're guiding people on, what does it mean to drip a faucet? Because believe it or not, faucet dripping used at least 30 million gallons of water during the event. And so we're not recommending to do away with faucet dripping. I think it serves an important purpose to help reduce freezing pipes and burst pipes, but the community needs a better sense of what does it mean to drip a faucet, which faucets do you drip, what's the difference between a drip and a stream. I mean, those things make real differences, and so we've enhanced our information there. Also, back to this theme of emergency preparedness is really everyone's responsibility, and our material describes to customers how you turn off your water, how much water you should have available for storage. Just think of a simple number, the number 7. We want 1 gallon per person, per day, per household to be stored. If there's 3 people in your house, that's 7 gallons. 3 times 7, that's 21 gallons. If you have 2 people, it's 14. If you have 10 people, that's 70. Just try to get to that level. If you can't get there, get as close as you can, whatever you can, but try to get to 1 gallon per day, per person, for 7 days. And I think that would go a long way for emergency water at households. And again, there's just kind of simple things to remember, but a way to keep this top of mind for the community. We've also done a lot of videos for how you shut off your water, right? If you don't know how to shut off the water to your house, you need to know that, because if you spring a leak and you can turn it off, it's going to save you damage, and it's going to save water leakage from our utility. There were tens of thousands of private burst pipes across the system, and every one of those contributed to the dewatering of our system, and so the more people can turn off their water, the better it's going to be for everybody. We just can't get out to every house and turn off the water during an emergency event like that. We need to partner with the community and enhance education there, and giveaways. Matter of fact, Councilmember Fuentes, you're the first one. We're going to be going to Dove Springs with you and have our giveaways there at your event, where we have little insulated pockets to put over hose bibs to keep those from freezing. We ordered, I don't know the exact number, but I think we ordered 10,000 turn-off keys that we can give away, and you can turn off the water if you don't know, just use the turn-off key. So again, it's not going to solve every problem, but it's a way to raise awareness and get the community involved in teaming with us for preparation. We've repaired all the damage at our system. This is a picture of our pipe gallery at Ulrich. This was an insulated pipe gallery, professionally insulated, and it still was really just destroyed during the winter storm. We've repaired all of the storm damage. We've re-insulated areas. We have ongoing enhanced insulation. We've repaired all of our basins. We've procured heaters, sand, de-icing fluid. We have tire chains everywhere. That was one of the challenges we had, is not enough tire chains. We have tire chains for every vehicle. We've increased staffing. We have electricians based at our water plants now instead of out of a central electrician dispatch area. So I think we're ready in terms of the systems being back into full operational capacity for future events. And I think that's my last slide. So I'll sit down now and any
Thank you.
questions?
Director
Thank you.
Mazzaros, and as we wrap up our presentation this evening, I want to start by thanking council, your leadership and support, not only in getting us prepared with our emergency preparedness efforts leading up to this emergency, but other emergencies that we faced in the past is invaluable. The work that you did during the storm, I know that so many of you were out in your districts helping your community navigate through the many challenges that they were facing. And then finally, the work that you will be doing with us to help resource and support the guiding work that we need to be doing to address these storms in the future. I want to thank the staff that you see in front of us. You have incredible, dedicated, professional leaders that are guiding our city departments, and they work tirelessly. They sacrifice their own families, and they have ensured that we were doing everything that we could as a city to respond to this unprecedented event. As we mentioned, it was in the middle of a pandemic. We were gearing up for a vaccine rollout, and this was a storm like no other that we've seen in our community's history. This is just the beginning of this conversation. So we provided you some comprehensive reports earlier today. I know that you're just beginning to sift through them. This evening's presentation was just meant to be an overview of those reports. We look forward to working with you in the coming days and weeks ahead, not only to answer your questions about the reports, but to continue this conversation, not only among the dais, but with our community about how we can move forward and how we can be better prepared in the future. So I look forward to that, and I thank you for your time and attention. I know it's been a long day. Happy to take any comments or questions, but I know that we will have more opportunities to talk about this going forward. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilmember Kitchen.
Just a quick process question. And thank you to everyone for presenting this. This was very helpful to help us understand the depth of the information that's available. I wanted to suggest, City Manager, that in addition to getting back to us with a scheduled work session or special session, that it might be helpful if you, and maybe I just don't know where to do this, but is there a place that we can submit questions? We submit questions right now, on, agenda items, but if we had a place to submit questions on each of these reports, or at least maybe Austin Water has one, and Austin Energy has one, then that would be a helpful way for us to start to get that information back and forth, and it might be a good way to prepare for a work session.
I was going to suggest the same thing because I think
Okay,
it's a great idea, and we'll make sure that we provide some sort of portal or communication mechanism to get those questions submitted.
Any other questions, colleagues? Councilmember Tova?
I'll defer all of my questions for now, but I just did want to note that Councilmember Alter and I have requested a special call meeting. We just sent that a little earlier to the mayor and to the agenda office, and so it'd be great once we schedule that to have whatever those question and answer portals are connected up with that one. And to that end, I don't know, the last time I checked, I may have missed it, but I didn't see the full report attached to today's backup, and I would make that request too. I know it was a link from the press release, but having it attached to today's backup, in addition to the presentation, which may already be there. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember, thank you for the reminder. I was just asking that the reports be attached to today's agenda.
Councilmember Alter? And then Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for the presentations. Preparing for these type of disasters before they happen, and in this calm before any storms is a key responsibility of government. It can go back to Machiavelli, I learned this morning, with a quote that most people don't wake up to. But I did hear, Machiavelli said that, and it is a core function of government. So want to keep that in mind. I really just wanted, though, to invite folks to participate in our Audit and Finance Committee meeting on November 10th, where the audit that we asked the auditor to undertake in relation to this will be presented. That's November 10th in the morning. I think we start at 9 or 9:30, so we can continue the conversation there as well. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Ellis and then Councilmember Fuentes.
It's not a question. I did have some thoughts, but out of courtesy of time and understanding this conversation will happen in other forums on other moments, I will keep those questions and comments for now. But I would say, to Councilmember Tovo's point about the posting, if you go to austintexas.gov/winterstorm, it does have the reports there, and so maybe that would also be helpful to have staff double up the presentation so that no matter which one you're looking at, you have all of the information there.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellis. Councilmember Fuentes?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Similarly, just want to thank the team and the staff for all of your hard work in bringing together today's presentation. That high-level overview is super helpful and helps frame the lens in which we should approach the implementation of the recommendations that you're providing. And since there will be a special call meeting, I would like to add if there's an opportunity for us to consider the community task force recommendations that were made. I know we received a briefing, but it would be helpful to see how that lines up with the departmental after action reports. I'd be curious to see how spot on we are with those recommendations, and also ensuring that we are following through with the recommendations made from our community. Certainly, this after action report, in a lot of ways, will begin to bring some closure to families who experienced great trauma throughout the winter storm and still are dealing with trauma. And I know that the tough work lies ahead. And so I'm excited to see and to have these recommendations available. Thank you.
Do you want to say something, Director Ortiz?
Yes, I want to make sure that all the council know, we did receive and got copies of the council's task force on Winter Storm Uri and several other after action reports conducted by departments, other agencies, and we went through a process to incorporate them or match them up, do a crosswalk to see what they found, what we found, and see where the connections were. And we did have a meeting with that task force, and we discussed what their findings were and our findings, and we discussed them and we matched them up. So our goal was that this after action report process incorporated all of that discussion, all of those recommendations, and consolidate them as best as we possibly could. In some areas, their recommendation was tied to 3 or 4 recommendations, and in some cases, 3 or 4 of the recommendations were tied to one of our recommendations. So there was an effort on that.
Well, thank you for that. That's super great to hear, and I appreciate the thorough process, comprehensive process they all went through. Thank you.
Councilmember Tovo?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I had neglected to mention when we were talking about kind of what's coming up. Thank you for the mention of the resilience hubs, which was an item initiated by council. I appreciate your work on that, and Sustainability Office and the Water Utility and others. As part of that resolution, we also included the direction that staff report back to the Public Health Committee regularly. And so to that end, we are taking that up next week at our Public Health Committee meeting. It is on November 9th at 1 p.m. So we've had kind of an interim update at the Joint Subcommittee, and we'll hear a more extensive report on that next week. So, but again, thank you. I know that was a resolution several of you co-sponsored, and I was glad to bring it forward. I think it's really critical work, and as we dig into the after action report, I think we'll see some other elements that reflect the importance of that preparedness.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other questions or comments? All righty. Well, thank you all for, who do I see? Oh, Councilmember Renteria. My apologies. I have to get more accustomed to looking up at that screen. Go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. I understand. I really want to thank the staff and And what I got out of this, and it seemed like each department said is preparedness. You have to be prepared. We saw on the news during the weather report a week and a half that this storm was hitting our way. We immediately filled every pot and tub and everything else that we had with water. I have lived through some of these that were temporary, but none like this one that happened. But we did go to the grocery store. We bought, all the food that we would need. And and during the 2000, my father-in-law bought me a whole bunch of survival cans of foods, which I still have. And so preparedness is, and then make sure that and I like what the water department is doing now, that they're emphasizing that learn your house, know where the cutoffs are at, know where the lowest water drain is at, so that you can drip your water there. And I'm really glad that we're going to be going that way, because that's the most important thing out of all of this is to be prepared and make sure that you know where all the water cutoff valves are at, and that would go a long way. And I want to thank y'all for bringing that up and making sure that we're going to be educating our public on how to be prepared.
Thank you, Councilmember. Now I'm looking everywhere I can possibly look. Are there any other questions, concerns? Councilmember Kelly?
Thank you. I'll be really brief. Thank you for reviewing the steps to preparedness, being informed, making a plan, getting a kit. I think we left out knowing your neighbors, which is also important for resiliency in the community. Knowing who might have some special needs so that you can go out to their home and check on them is definitely important. I really appreciate the Ready Central Texas app. I think it's a wonderful resource. And I did notice on the city's website earlier, you all are doing one CERT class a year, but that preparedness training is available online through FEMA, and I would highly recommend it to anyone if they want to get a kit together. During the winter storm, my family pulled out my CERT kit, and we were able to do that. So the Community Emergency Response Team training is very helpful for everyone. Thank you so much for your presentations tonight and for being here so late.
That's that. Is this the part where I sing? All right, folks. So thank you, everybody, for your time and talents. We really appreciate you and your contributions to this process and look forward to continuing the conversations. I'm certain that there will be lots and lots of questions. And my hope is that it helps to inform our ability to be as effective as possible moving forward for the general citizenry of the great city of Austin, Texas. And with that, with no objection, I'm going to call the Austin City Council meeting on this day, November 4th, 2021, adjourned at 10:32 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Travel safe.